Hey guys, Trent here from Centerforce, and I'm here today to talk to you guys a little bit about our new internal hydraulic throwout bearing. Now, before I get into the features and benefits of this little guy here, let's talk a little bit about what a internal hydraulic bearing is. Well, you guys might be familiar with a normal throwout bearing that usually rides on a clutch fork. It engages the clutch fingers of a pressure plate, and it engages and disengages the clutch either via a hydraulic cylinder that is mounted up to the other end of the clutch fork, or mechanical linkage. Well, in the case of this internal bearing here, this takes the place of the slave cylinder, the fork, and the throwout bearing itself. It basically builds the hydraulics all into the throwout bearing itself as one compact unit. Now, internal hydraulic bearings are really nothing new. They've actually been around for a really long time, and most of the big three have used them at one point or another, including Chevy, Ford, and Dodge. You can see these very commonly in OE applications and even in several aftermarket applications. Tremec uses a lot of them, for example, with their T56s and some of their other transmissions. So, what is cool and new about this? Well, a few different things. Let's take a look. So first thing, the most notable difference between our bearing and an OE bearing is that most of the OE bearings use a plastic piston inside them. So this is all right for stock applications and everything, but obviously plastic is going to be more susceptible to heat. And in performance applications, you're going to see a lot more heat. And they also tend to fail a little bit more regularly. So instead, what we have done is we have upgraded the design with an all aluminum piston, as you can see here. Much higher quality, can take a much higher heat cycles and things of that nature, and is just a better way to do it all the way around. The next thing I wanted to point out is that this bearing is actually self-centering. It can be difficult to see here, but it actually can move around and center itself, so if things aren't perfectly lined up, it will make up the difference. So what else? Well, obviously it's got the protective urethane boot. There's this spring, this internal spring in here that you'll notice here, like that. So that spring actually means that this bearing is self-adjusting. So with a lot of the aftermarket internal throwout bearings that you see, they have to be shimmed, and that shimming process can be complicated. It's pretty straightforward, but it can be complicated for some people to do. And unfortunately, if you get it wrong, transmission's got to come back out. With this, it's self-adjusting. You just install it and go. So the overall design is actually pretty proven, and this is a direct bolt-in for many applications, including some Chevrolet, Ford, and Dodge applications. But we've also taken this bearing, because it is so proven and works so well, and we've adapted it to some other applications. We've done that via, you'll notice we have a second set of mounting holes here, and we will occasionally, when it's required, we will have an adapter spacer that will go install behind here and adjust that depth of the bearing however it needs to be to work for that application. Now, in the case of an OE, we will have a factory style leader, and like this is a factory style quick connect here. In an aftermarket application, we'll use all AN fittings. So this is, I believe, a -4 that's a threaded piece, and then of course we will come with braided stainless steel hose as well, and even when necessary, it'll even have the heat sleeve on it as well. So because these bearings are so versatile is one of the reasons we've been able to use them in a variety of different non-stock applications. This bearing actually is capable of over 1 inch of travel, which is pretty nice. These are also pretty easy to bleed. We have seen people do, with the factory system, you would bleed it just using the factory procedure. In an aftermarket application, we generally recommend vacuum bleeding them. That involves a mighty vac, but they're very inexpensive and are a very, very reliable way to bleed these systems. And last but certainly not least, each one of these bearings is actually leak tested here in-house by us to ensure that they don't leak, because after all, installing these is a big job, and you only want to have to do it once, right? So we actually leak test every single one of these in-house, and we've even done some torture testing on several samples of these things. We did one of these, did over 300,000 cycles at varying degrees between 200 and 400 degrees, so, and didn't have a single failure. So we love this new bearing. We think you will too. It's very affordably priced. As I said, there's a bunch of different applications that this bearing now applies to. So for more information, please go to centerforce.com. You can just enter your make models, and you can see what's available for your vehicle. Well, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.